In this story, you'll hear a long overdue phone call between a mother and her daughter. But as the conversation unfolds, buried truths and unexpected triumphs begin to surface. "Hey, sweetie, it's great to hear your voice. I must admit that I had a terrible time figuring out a new phone number for everyone. How are you all doing?" Linda purred, trying to hide her fear and longing. Stacy hesitated, but she decided to tell herself, "Oh, I'm sorry, who is this? It's your mother. I'm sorry I didn't call sooner, but damn it. I expected you to at least be able to recognize the voice of the mother who loved and raised you for 17 years, Linda said. Now, I'm really upset." Stacy smiled a little because she was certain. It was her mother calling, but she was cautious as usual. She had the benefit of giving her absent mother an emotional kick in the head without being overtly nasty. "Oh, Mom, you caught me off guard, and I was just being cautious, didn't want to get involved with some stalker." Stacy paused once more and chose to object to her mother's loved and raised you for 17+ years statement. She maintained her composure, but I don't think she refused the courteous Barb Mom. Linda sighed deeply. "Sorry, Stacy. Things were so complicated at the time that I just felt like I had to leave. But enough about that. I really just called to see how you were doing and maybe talk to your sister and brother if they're around. I plan to be much more available to you now that I'm back. The last 3 years can be classified as parenting or love. I was almost 14 when you left us, and this is the first word from you in over 3 years. I'm now 17, and it's been a long time since I felt your motherly love. Now that Frank and I are married, there is so much I can do for you, Rachel, and Josh. Our lives are so much better than they were when I was with your father. Don't get me wrong, your father is a good man, but he just can't provide the life benefits that Frank does. I'm very spoiled now, and I love it. I want to show your kids how life should be in the interim while also making up for the years that didn't work out." At this point, Stacy was furious because she loved her father, Ed Mercer, and respected his responsibility and the heartache he had gone through when Linda left, forcing him to be a single parent and raise 2 teenage daughters and a wild 20-year-old son. She was also very proud of the way he had changed their lives after Mom left. The fact that he had cleaned out the bank accounts before she left meant that the financial situation was suddenly worse than it had been before. At the age of 14, Stacy took on the role of homemaker to help her family survive together. They managed to do so. But it was difficult for more than 8 months before things improved after her father made some significant changes. Now that life is wonderful, it would have been simple for Stacy to just jump on the person who caused most of the suffering that had characterized her 14th year of life. Her famous temper was always ready in the background, like a tiger on a light leash, waiting for a weakness and an opportunity. Despite all of her nonsense, Stacy really wanted to maintain her relationship with her mother, so she relished the calm that came over her as she made the decision to make her point rub her mother's nose in the slime of her mistakes. It was great because if she lashed out at her mother, she would definitely hang up on her, and Stacy might never see or hear from her again. Stacy stood in front of her bedroom's full-length mirror with plenty of light coming in through the window. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon in mid-June, so the sun was shining strongly through the west-facing window. Stacy grinned widely and thought, "Stacy girl, you may have just learned a huge life lesson, Mom. You won't believe how hot I am. Hold on, I'm about to take a picture on my cell phone camera and send it to you. Don't hang up." She was wearing a full-length lavender evening gown, which was elegant but fitted her very feminine figure. And she turned slightly sideways to show off her strawberry blonde hair, gathered on her head in an elegant style. The dress was complemented by long white gloves that hugged her arms just above the elbows. She took 2 pictures, selected the best one, and sent it right away to her mother's cell phone. Did it work? What do you think? There was a long pause while Linda thought about it. Ignoring her mother's thoughts, Stacy continued, "You think? It's something until you see Rachel." Stacy slipped across the hall to her sister's room and pushing open the door where her 14-year-old sister was doing a last thing. "Stacy, oh my goodness. You're beautiful, YU." "I have no words," Linda said, and something of a whisper suppressing the lump in her throat that was trying to choke her. "Oh, Stacy. I've missed so much, you've grown so much, oh what have I done?" Rachel's long, thick, honey-brown hair was styled in a minute, and it was gathered on her head in multiple ringlets that framed her face. Her face was so beautiful that everyone stopped to stare at it. She was wearing an evening gown, which was delicately elegant, but did a far better job of concealing her charms than her older, more mature sister's dress. "Hey, Mom is on the phone, and I'm going to send her a picture of you." Rachel was helped by a woman in her 30s who was also wearing an evening gown. It's intended to impress the woman, whose regal beauty always attracted attention wherever she went. The woman began to move away from the picture frame, but Stacy stepped in and said, "No, Janice, stay where you are. I want you in the picture too." Shouting into the phone, "Hello, Mom. I can't talk right now, but let's get in touch sometime later." Stacy took a few photos, selected the best one, and sent it on its way after a pause. Phoned to her ear and said, "I bet you don't recognize Rachel. Mom even has breasts." Rachel blushed and screamed, "Stacy, you jerk, shut up." However, a shy smile appeared on her face as the other two women in the room giggled at her embarrassment. Stacy returned her focus to the phone. "So what do you think, Mom, Linda?" "I'm shocked, honey, just stunned. You've both grown so much, and you're both so beautiful. I'm proud of you, and I wish I could have been there." Then as she looked at the pictures of her kids, whom she now missed more than anything in the world, the details of the pictures started to come to light. "Why are you both dressed up like that? Can't be attending the ball together, can you?" Stacy had successfully captured her mother's attention and was about to start rubbing her nose. "No, Mom, this is even more awesome than that. Remember? The yearly party that you always went crazy about, but you and Dad were never invited to?"
You know, Swick, Linda said.
Of course I remember that it was always the social event of the year. In fact, I'd give anything to attend that reception. Only the most powerful and beautiful people in the entire state were invited. I would have loved it so much to be able to dress up in formal attire and mingle with the social elite, Linda said quickly, waking up from her fantasy. "Oh my goodness. You and Rachel got jobs as hostesses or waitresses for that party. Wow, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you. You think my daughters will be there with all these gorgeous people?" Linda muttered breathlessly. "No, Mom, we're not waiting. We're invited guests, and we're going to sit at the head table because Daddy is the guest of honor. It's a surprise for him, but Daddy will be roasted too. Isn't that cool? I'll even be one of the roasters." Linda was shocked. "You have to be." "Kidding, don't get me wrong, Mom. A lot has changed since you left us. We were in a lot of pain and we're all devastated, but Daddy brought us all together, including Josh, and somehow made a new life for us. Perhaps I should tell you what's happened since you left us. It needs to be done quickly because the limo should be back with Fauna and Josh in about 15 minutes, and then we'll have some time to ourselves. Honor that just doesn't happen in real life. You're lying to me, don't you?" I suppose we were already planning to leave, but the date was postponed a little when Linda interrupted her to whisper, "I'm sorry, Stacy. I didn't realize you were aware of what happened between me and your dad. But yes, after your dad found out, I felt horrible." Stacy took a deep breath to calm herself before she started the story of their life after. "Mom, Dad was pretty much destroyed when he discovered you were doing it with some old fart in your bed. Frank and I decided to leave town and move to his apartment in Manhattan, where we've lived ever since. I'm sorry your dad decided to tell you about what happened. I think it was very low to involve you kids. It's just pure horseshit, Mom." Stacy tried to calm her escalating temper, but she took a deep breath and went on. "Daddy didn't tell us. I told him." "Who do you think took the pictures?" "Rachel and I got home. After telling Rachel to wait downstairs, I crept upstairs to see what you were doing. I took your cell phone, took some pictures, and sent them to Dad. Rachel and I then left for a friend's house. By the time we got home, you had locked yourself. In your bedroom, it wouldn't come out, but we could hear you crying. The following morning, you were gone. And the last memory I have of my devoted mother is of her lying on her back beneath an elderly man. I'm glad you at least covered your bodies in my father's bedroom because I would probably still be in therapy right now. I can't believe you betrayed me, Stacy. How could you do that? I don't think this is the right time or place to trade jabs. About betrayal, Mom? That would be a very uneven duel. Don't you think I'll take my fire hose against your gun any day? And we won't even discuss Josh's stuff. Do you want to relive the past 3 years?" When Stacy looked at her own poise and how she handled the situation, She thought that she had really matured and grown over the past few years. At that point, she realized that if she wanted to have any kind of relationship with her kids, she would have to take full responsibility for her actions and the results of those actions. This was not going to be an easy task. Few presents and vacations wouldn't fix the problem. Her kids would need to come to terms with life without her, and she wanted to know how they handled it. That if she backed down, she would probably lose them forever. If she wanted to rebuild the relationship, she would have to accept their feelings and feel their fire. Was it worth the pain she knew would come later? Linda pulled herself together, her voice soft and remorseful. Yes, Stacy, you are absolutely right. I suppose we will have to talk about these issues someday. But for now, Dad got discouraged for a few months and things were really bad. Often, when Rachel and I would get home from school, I would make her stay outside while I went inside to see if Dad was dead or something. I've been calling to reestablish contact with the kids, and that would be a good first step. Let me know how your life has gone since I left Mom. You wouldn't believe it. It's like something out of a story, even a fairy tale. I would jump up when the phone rang, thinking it was the police or the hospital or something. I told Josh that he needed to take charge and stop drinking and partying because I couldn't be the only one trying to hold on. I think he tried, but it didn't help him much. Eventually, Dad started reading books on how to deal with breakups and grief. On many nights, he would just lock himself in his bedroom while we could hear the clicking of keys on the computer he was using to write. I believe that helped him a lot because I remember when he became overweight. Stacy paused and thought for a moment before saying, I know you probably don't want to hear all this stuff about Dad, but it's really important in the overall scheme of things, so I apologize if it's not what you wanted to hear about, by the way. He looks really hot right now. He got up early to run and even bought a treadmill and exercise machine and started using them. I assumed he was trying to get himself to start living again. How are you and Josh doing? It's easy. She just kind of fell into a shell and remained there for a while, but now she's pretty much coming out of it, and you wouldn't believe how well she's doing. A lot of that has to do with Janice. She and Rachel have clicked. Linda looked at the photo on her phone once more, paying special attention to the woman helping Rachel pack. Who is Janice? Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. Janice is Daddy's girlfriend. Isn't she gorgeous and adorable? What happened? Your dad slept with a girl half his age, and now she's selling your sister to photographers. If I find out that she's taking cheesecake photos, I'll file charges against Dad and Janet, or whatever her name is. She helped Rachel come out of her shell and is now helping her get started in the modeling industry. Oh, Mom, you should get a copy of last month's Teen Fashion World magazine. Rachel is on the cover and looks amazing. She's really becoming an in-demand model. Do you really think Daddy would let any of us do anything that even remotely resembles cheesecake? They insist that the photographer sign an ironclad contract with Dad and that no picture is taken without his approval and permission. The name is Linda, and Stacy waited to calm things down a little while, realizing where she had likely inherited her temper. Then they spoke very quietly. Mom, Dad, and Janice really care and scrutinize any modeling work Rachel and I do. At least one of them is present at every shoot. Even allowed her to take a picture in her bathing suit. As for Daddy's girlfriend, Janice, she is 34 years old, which is 11 years younger than you and Frankie, who is about 100. I'm not sure if they will ever get married, but they are cute together and she helps him a lot. She even occasionally says nice things about him, so he seems happier than I've ever seen him. In fact, Frank is only 66 years old, whereas I'm 43. Stacy Linda hastily interrupted. But I'm not sure modeling the modeling career has done a lot of good for Rachel's mother. She's no longer shy and now holds herself with a confidence and poise she never had before. She finally knows who she is, what she can do, and what she's capable of. Is a good choice for Rachel, and I definitely wouldn't allow it. She needs to get into something more worthy. Stacy bit her tongue to stop herself from saying something like decent. How do you abandon your family to become jewelry for a 66-year-old rich man's hand? She is so talented that she even directs or suggests themed poses for some of her photo shoots. Let's face it, Mom. Rachel never did well in school and always felt like she had a bleak future, because she thought she would never succeed. However, she has the potential to become a world-class model before she even graduates from high school and have the kind of bank account that even you would be proud of. I'm doing well, taking a few extra classes each semester to graduate early and get into college. I still maintain an average, but this year I'm a little worried about chemistry because it's a difficult subject, but I need it if I want to get into veterinary school. Oh, Mom, you won't believe this. The best part is that R and I have become very close because we help each other and work together. I also get paid fairly well, so I save a lot of money for college. I'm a model, so I have a whole closet, and I'm actually one of the best dressed girls in the class. In fact, many of the girls in my class who are too cool for you ask me for fashion advice, and some have even asked for my autograph. I'm almost popular, and the best part is that guys are starting to take notice. Stacy giggled. All of this was really upsetting to Linda, who had always struggled to fit in and had left her family to do so. Linda sighed deeply and said, "I'm glad you and your sister have been so successful, sweetheart. And although I'm afraid to ask how Josh is doing, is my boy okay?" Stacy took a deep breath and looked at the clock on the night table to see how much time she had left, knowing that the limo with Josh and Fauna would be arriving soon. She didn't want to move on to the next topic and not have time to finish. The majority of her family members had reached great heights without her, and to make matters worse, they had done it seemingly effortlessly. "Surprised to have to admit that Josh has turned his life around," she said. "Because you know he was pretty wild before you left and continued to drink and hang out with his friends after you left. After you left, he even got worse for a while until Dad got at his throat and demanded that he quit partying and at least get a job or go back to school. Josh would tell him where to go, and eventually Dad kicked him out and told him not to come back until he found a job. The police were called a couple times to get him out of the house. Your father kicked my son out of the house. How dare he do that? I'll have Frank call a lawyer."
"Sue the creep," Linda muttered. "Good luck with that, Mom." Stacy shook her head, knowing that her mother had always thought of Josh as her favorite.
And had given him everything. She also knew that Linda had supported Josh's antics by giving him money when he asked for it. Still, she was fortunate that he had never been arrested or gotten into any serious trouble. Since then, Josh and Dad have essentially made up for a while. Josh made money off his friends, but even they got tired of helping his lazy ass and left him. He lived on the streets for a while before deciding he didn't like living there, especially after realizing that the three of us were doing well. He came to Daddy to apologize and asked to go home, and Dad persisted in his get-a-job-first attitude. Josh eventually found work on the roof, and he moved into a house. But Dad made him pay his own rent to demonstrate what it meant to be an adult. It was funny to hear him complain about working hard, paying for food, rent, and a car, and then not having any money. His father would always tell him that this is the real world and that he needed to get used to it. This continued for about a year until one day, Stacy laughed and said, "Don't tell me your father has another girlfriend who's Fauna." "No, Mom. Fauna is Dad's personal assistant. She is very intelligent and doesn't put up with anyone's nonsense. Her father always refers to her as his boss. She is only 22 years old, but she already knows her stuff. She met her father as she approached him at a conference he was working at in Minneapolis, shook his hand, and advised him that if he wanted to succeed, he needed to hire her to manage his travel plans, purchase his tickets, and handle his expenses. She then gave him her resume and instructed him to call her when he was ready to take his career seriously. Dad immediately hired her, and she now lives with us. Dad jokes that he has his own problems, and she was really helpful in getting Dad's career started. She's like my own big sister, and we all adore her. She told Josh that she wouldn't date someone who wasn't going somewhere in life, and Josh fell in love with her after just one glance. His mother joined the Air Force 4 months ago, and he will soon be traveling to Monterey, California, to attend a language school where he will learn Russian. Linda gasped. "This is too much," and Stacy laughed at her mother's reaction. "Wow," she said, "he's at Lackland Air Force Base right now, waiting for his security clearance to be finished, and his father asked him to take a leave of absence to come home and attend a party." Fauna has started warming up to him, but he still won't acknowledge that they are dating. But we girls can tell she is in love because she isn't seeing anyone else, and they talk on the phone for hours whenever they can. Josh is shocked to learn that he plans to complete language school, go to college, earn his degree, and become an officer. It's too strange what love can do. when a barrel voice began singing Impossible Dream in the background. Stacy laughed and walked out into the hallway outside her bedroom. "Mom, you need to hear this," she said, holding out the phone toward the voice. At that moment, a series of wolf cries and moans from very feminine voices erupted. Rachel shouted, laughing, "Daddy, sing my favorite song, Far, Far Away."
What?
On second thought, just sing Far Away. Janice joined in. "Hit the road, I believe the bus leaves in 10 minutes. While the girls were laughing, Ed could be heard saying, "You girls are killing me. I get no respect my own family, that's it. You're all off my Christmas list." A female chorus of "We love you, Daddy" followed, and a male said, "We're back on the Christmas list." Stacy continued to laugh, saying, "He's so funny. He always sings when he's happy or nervous, and we always get him for it." This was our little game, and all Linda could say was, "Oh." It's clear that her family was moving on without Dad doesn't realize he's the guest of honor tonight. But he's a little anxious because he and Jack McTaggart are going to play a couple of guitar duets with the band. Dad and his bluesy guitar stuff. After he and Jack became friends, they both discovered they love playing guitar and get together almost every week to practice and have a few beers. They joke that they're going to be rock. But she secretly hoped they were still hurting because they had lost her. Stacy picked up the conversation and continued her silence. "The stars are actually pretty good, but they only do it for fun. Tonight is their first public performance, and it should be enjoyable. Can you picture your dad wearing a tuxedo and playing guitar on stage?" Linda was shocked to see that her dad and John McTaggart are friends. "How did that happen?" Stacy grinned too, herself. She knew that her mother had always wanted to meet the McTaggs because of their wealth and power. He was a very kind man who had played a key role in Ed's writing career. Yes, Mom, JN, or Jack, as his close friends call him, M. Taggart, had been instrumental in Ed's writing career. It all began when Dad wrote a couple articles on how to survive and rebuild your life after a traumatic event like losing everything when your cheating wife leaves you and runs off with her boyfriend. Stacy was also happy that he insisted that everyone in the family call him Jack instead of the official, Mr. McTaggart. Jack was ecstatic when a number of small magazines purchased the articles for publication. He then contacted Dad and asked him to speak as a motivational speaker at one of the McTaggart staff meetings. He thought Dad was going to have a heart attack, but he prepared a lecture from his articles and gave a speech at the meeting. It went well, and Jack hired Dad again to speak at the annual stockholders meeting. From then on, things got worse. Dad started writing more, and his pieces were picked up by more prestigious magazines, and he soon quit his job to focus entirely on writing and speaking. Jack kept meeting influential people, and they soon found that they both enjoyed playing rock and blues guitar. They have stayed friends ever since. Stacy took a long break to give her mother time to process what had happened, but it had been an incredible turn of events. Is your father a writer? My ex-husband is a writer. The sounds of activity, people arriving, loud conversations, light laughter, and a strong male voice were heard as Linda tried to comprehend the unrealistic idea of her former loser becoming successful. She secretly hoped it didn't pay so well. Stacy noticed Janice leaving Rachel's room and heading toward the stairs leading to the main floor. It was easy to assume that she was going downstairs to serve as hostess for the new arrivals, but then she remembered. "I'll have to leave soon, Mom. Something she forgot to do tonight." Jack and Mona M. Taggart are here with photographers to take pictures for the society page of the newspaper and the picture book they publish and sell every year about the magical time people had at the Summerfest. Makes me want to throw up. But I think the book raises a lot of money for charity and makes us participants feel warm and good. Stacy said this with a hint of sarcasm because she truly thought it was excessive and self-indulgent. But she couldn't know Stacy. Don't take this lightly. It's an honor and a privilege to be in this book and to know that you took part in a historic event. You should be ecstatic to be there, since you'll be sitting at the head table and your photos will be on almost every page. I have secretly purchased Linda because she couldn't help but feel proud of her father's accomplishments. She had suddenly elevated their family to such a lofty place where others, especially her wayward mother, started to treat them with respect. Almost every year, I'm able to show you the pictures of Josh and Rachel and say, "Look, these special people are my kids." I'm both proud and jealous, and I'll be ordering a few copies of the book as soon as it's released. All right, Mom. Oh, hi. Dad is heading to New York for Labor Day weekend, and Rachel, Janice, Fauna, and I were going to go with him. Perhaps we can get together then, and I'm sure I can persuade Rachel to come too. She's still upset with you for leaving, so perhaps we could bring Janice along so you can meet her too. Oh, honey, that's a great idea, so let's do something about it. I really want to see you in RA, but I'm not sure if it's a good idea because it's causing too much pain for both of you. I'm sure I'd like you to meet Frank, though, since he's your stepfather. Stacy put her finger in her mouth, mimicking gagging, and said, No, Mom, still have nightmares about you, and we'll see what happens, Stacy. But let's not disturb the main objective, which is for us to see each other again. Frank is using his influence to get us tickets to the Meet the Author Day that the New York Literary Guild is hosting this weekend. And I'm going to insist that he get tickets for all of us. Frank is doing nasty things, so I can only meet Frank and you if Daddy. Janice is there. It should be a very prestigious event, and several writers will I know that the coasts tend to learn about the newest trends and events sooner than the Midwest. But have you heard of David Stacy? She couldn't help but laugh when she heard her mother's somewhat condescending tone and decided to return the favor. Yes, Mom. I have heard of David VZ, and I have met him on more than one occasion. Frank is very excited to meet him and sign books. David Voles has promised to be there, and Frank is excited to meet him. Frank says his first book is great. Yes, I agree that his work is exceptional. I read his book a while back and found it to be rather provocative. Have you read it, Mom? Linda was surprised by Stacy's statement, but she chose not to respond. Frank is undoubtedly a fan of that type of reading, though. Stacy was already laughing and nearly said something about the book's lack of enough illustrations for her mom's literary tastes, but she refrained. Do you have a hard copy or a soft copy of David's book available, Linda? Stacy was still laughing and trying not to choke as the full impact of the irony continued to hit her. She looked around before entering Frank's office. I have a hard copy of it right here on Frank's desk. Why do you ask Mom to look at the back and side cover and tell me what you see? My God, it's ED. Oh, a picture I took of your father 7 or 8 years ago. Oh my God, how can this be that it can't be David V? Your father is not David VZ, she thought. You can't help it, Mom. David VZ is actually Edward J. Mercer. When Dad decided to write a novel, he wanted to separate his writing goals for a number of reasons. So he came up with a pen name and released his first novel under that name. That's just really funny, she said quietly. Your husband's favorite author is your ex-husband. This is just hilarious. It's too good. They should make a movie. It's unbelievable that no one could come up with this. I'm so glad you called, and I really want to see you. Again, Mom, it's still too funny. Linda just suggested that you tell your brother and sister hello and give them my number so they can call me when they get a chance. I love you too, Stacy said, still laughing. I have to go, Mom. I'll send you my email address and you send me. Yours will make plans for Labor Day weekend. Stacy went downstairs, still laughing at the implications of the recent turn of events, and prepared to take pictures for the socialites. She was still talking to Stacy when Frank nearly burst into the room. Linda, you won't believe this. I just received a postcard from David Voles. I wrote to him to tell him how much I loved his book and how I was looking forward to seeing him in September, and he wrote back in his own handwriting. Dear Frank, you have no idea how happy I am that you read and enjoyed it. Stacy knew she would have no trouble smiling, but only she would know why, at least for now. I can't know if I will ever be able to express how much my first novel has benefited my life and career, but I look forward to thanking you in person because you have lifted a heavy burden from my shoulders and given me a much-needed spark in my development as a person and writer. Best wishes, David Frank continued to ramble about his rapturous joy, telling me that he must have met David once before because his picture looked familiar, but he couldn't recall where he had seen him. He was now eager to meet him and hope to become close friends with his new favorite author. Linda's depression grew as Frank's words gradually left her thoughts, and at last, in a dry, quiet voice, she whispered, "Shut up, Frank. Just shut up." Thanks for watching. What do you think about how everything turned out? Was Stacy right to say what she did? Do you think Linda deserved that ending? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your take. And if you enjoy true relationship stories, feel free to subscribe. More are coming soon.